heart. And they said, we want to do a contest. We want you and Don and Greg to be the contestants, and we're going to put donation jars at various businesses around the area. The winner agreed to kiss a pig. Well, the day came, they counted up the amount of money that everybody got, and I won. So the folks that owned the pig brought it in a cage, and I was supposed to kiss the pig, but in reality I never really did kiss a pig because they had it in a cage and they didn't think that would be the right thing to do, and neither did I, to be honest with you, but I had agreed to do it, so that was what it was all about, and the money ended up going to the food pantry as a donation.
There you go, caller. Does that answer it?
Yep, and I'm going to leave you with one more question about quality and what you think we should do with quality there in Mayville.
Well, I have been in touch with some people to see if there's an interest. There are several smaller grocery store chains that do have an interest in reopening Quality. I did learn, interestingly enough, that there's a company out of Vermont, C&S Suppliers, and they're a huge, huge wholesaler to grocery stores all around this area and the eastern seaboard. They evidently own everything that Penn Traffic used to own, which was the wholesaler that supplied to Quality Markets. I believe C&S Stores is probably going to have somebody come in and reopen these stores, and C&S would be the supplier of the food products to the stores. There's a couple things that are of concern when it has to relate to New York State labor law and union wages. The current Quality Market store is a union store, which means the employees have an organized bargaining unit. If the new employer, the new person comes in and rehires those former Quality Markets employees, and he hires more than 50% of them, then they will have to renegotiate with the current union contract that those employees have. However, if he hires less than 50% of them, they can create a work environment that would be a non-union. I'm not saying one way's good or one way's bad. I'm just saying that's an issue that anybody's going to have to face if they come in and reopen this store and rehire the current employees. But I think you're not going to see the store. If it does close, it's going to be for a very short period of time, and then there's going to be somebody else coming in to open it up.
Same with Westfield, I'm sure.
Yes.
Because they have basically a monopoly there, and people go over for their small items, although it's well-known fact if you want to hobnob with most of Westfield, you go to Walmart on Saturday morning for the big shopping.
Yeah. The Quality store here, actually, from what I understand, is a profitable store as far as they go. This store actually kept some of the larger stores afloat that weren't doing as well. In the summertime, they of course have the big influx from the Chautauqua people.
They're open 24 hours in the summer.
Not anymore. They close at 10 p.m. now.
No,
they were for a few years. They were,
yeah.
but now they close at 10.
Okay.
But in the summertime they do real well, and in the wintertime they do well enough where they're self-sustaining, and I don't think it's going to be an issue where we're going to be without a grocery store.
No, somebody will take them over, I'm sure, because it is a monopoly. They've got to make a profit. It's not just a matter of how much. And the fact that they are closing the local stores has nothing to do with the business. It has to do with the corporation. They've stolen all the money in the corporation. That's it. They've been bankrupt for years now.
This will be their third time, as I understand it, that they filed for one chapter or another in the bankruptcy courts.
This is Chapter Omega, I'm afraid.
And I think this is going to be the end of Quality Markets as we know it.
Yeah, me too.
And it'll be, it could be a Farm Fresh Foods, it could be a Sanders. We don't really know for sure.
Sanders used to own the one in Westfield. Back then it was something Bell or whatever, I think.
Well, it was Loblaws when I was a kid.
Right.
Then it went to Bell's, then it went to Jubilee, and now it's
Jubilee.
Quality Markets.
Well, it was
Sanders
went over to Northeast and opened up over there and sold it to
they took the Jubilee in Northeast and made it into a Sanders store. And either one, either Farm Fresh or Sanders would be a good fit for the community.
Yeah, in both places. Of course, again, you have a whopping business in the summer over here with all the tourism around the lake, and in Chautauqua, which incidentally helps you guys out now here in Mayville. You have taxes, water bills, sewage, and all these things, which whether you use it or not is still taxed, all around the lake here. So Mayville does pretty well from that, from the tourism, doesn't it?
Well, we only have what's inside the corporate limits of the village.
Right.
But yes, we do. We have water, we have sewer, but the sewer is not owned by the village. That's a county sewer district. North Chautauqua Lake Sewer District is owned by Chautauqua County. The sewer plant was property or owned and operated by the village of Mayville a number of years ago, but the sewer board was formed and the county took over the operations.
And
here.
the money, huge money. Gee, the sewage tax, whether you use it or not, all year long, it still amounts to almost over $300, I think.
Yeah, I don't know because I live in the village, but I don't have sewer. I have septic system where I live. Yes.
You must be up in the boonies then.
No, I'm in the village, but I'm right on the edge of town, and where my property is, there was no sewer system. There's no natural gas where my house is. I have electric and water. That's it.
Well, maybe you have to drill. I mean, everybody has natural gas just under the surface around here.
Yeah, there could be, but
yeah. Well, I have a little plot over the hill near, not too far away, and they've got gas all over the place over there. I had a friend. You remember the golf course over in Point Chautauqua? Harvey Miller owned it, and his son Glenn Miller took over. Well, Glenn bought a property. You know the Lee Gravitt. You remember the Gravitt's orchard?
Sure.
And who could forget it? All their business was apple cider in the fall, and they pressed a lot of apples. They had millions of apple trees, and they had to sell it when it went hard, and so they used to sell it for $0.25 a jug. Back in it was very cheap, and you waited till it got a little hard, and then you bought it. It's like a good wine. We got a couple of calls. I wanted to talk about something else, but here we go. Good morning, caller.
Speaking of apple cider, I hate it now that they have to put that or pasteurize it.
Yeah,
because it doesn't.
It won't go hard anymore.
I don't even care if it doesn't get quite hard, but it's much better after it gets just a little
fizzy.
Yeah, just
little tangy.
Just barely. I mean, not enough to get anybody drunk or anything, but
it never would because it dies before it gets that high.
But anyhow, I would like to bring up the hospital again.
Well, we just chatted about it.
I know. I said I'd like to bring it up again.
Okay.
And the reason is, your guest mentioned that it isn't really up to us, which is true, and it's not up to the county, which is true, and it's not up...
Legislature?
Well, yeah, I guess it's up to the health department or whatever. But I guess I don't understand how New York City... I understand there's a lot more people that live in New York City, but they have an emergency room every, 3 blocks.
Right.
For their people. And granted, we aren't quite as many people, but if you take into consideration the villages that are that Westfield serves, and the fact that we don't have a 3 or 4 block area, we are talking minutes, hours sometimes. And the further away you put them, the more likely we are to die. Are we expendable or what?
Hit towns, I guess they don't see us up here. New York, remember, everybody in control of our government now comes from New York.
How can we make them see us?
I don't know. Well, there's the Ninja Seniors.
I guess I'm not familiar with the Ninja Seniors.
Well, I don't want to give anybody ideas, but Ninja Seniors, every senior center has somebody who's sadly terminally ill, knowing that within a few months they'll probably be on their way out as part of the life cycle. And now these people are particularly, let's say, immune from any prosecution, because by the time they got them to trial and everything, they'd be long gone anyway.
I'm getting the picture.
And so when these politicians and bigwigs come down and talk every year and tell the seniors how much they're going to give them, and then they screw them to death when they get back to Congress or wherever it is, you bring your Ninja Seniors on. And incidentally, there are no metal detectors in senior centers. Enough said.
Well,
do you have to be on a list to get in?
If there were metal detectors, they'd be going off all the time because there's all the metal that the seniors have acquired
in their mouth. Yeah,
in their mouths and in their bodies. They've probably got plates, and in their joints they've got steel balls and stuff.
But I've got to comment though that you're right in that I really don't